After getting the result of the scores, I also asked the opinion of the students. What do they think about the e-learning? A total of 60 students, 51 of them were satisfied with the e-learning system. Only 9 who seemed to be unsatisfied with the e-learning system. Those who are satisfied with the e-learning say that it's because it's easy to understand. As you know, PowerPoint files only contain the main points. So instead of reading a book of 200 pages, they can just read PowerPoint files of 20 slides, which is more comfortable, no extended reading. And it's also fun because, as I mentioned earlier, the quizzes are provided in a variety of formats, not only multiple choice questions, matching, crosswords, and so on. So they feel like we are not really learning, but we are also playing games. And easy to access. The time and place are flexible. Some of them can access the materials using their mobile phone. The unsatisfied students with e-learning mentioned that lack of detailed explanation. Well, obviously because PowerPoint files only contain limited number of words. But for these students, I said that they could actually read the books if they did more detailed explanation. Lack of verbal explanation because I only provided very short webcasts, only 5 minutes, and not in every week. I think I only provide 1 or 2 webcasts for half semester. So only 2 webcasts for 2 semesters. Student suggestions for improving the e-learning system: add more videos and or podcasts, give more games in the quizzes, and also give more time for the quizzes because I usually only allocate maximum 30 minutes for the quiz, and they think that perhaps they need more. Also improve the website system. This is more in for the management of the university. Okay. Conclusion, there is no significant difference between the result of the classroom learning and that of the e-learning. Majority of the students are satisfied with the e-learning system. The students particularly enjoy the e-learning system because the materials presented are easy to understand, fun, and easy to access. For the implementation, lecturers are expected to add more videos and podcasts, and also to add more games in the quizzes. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
As we can see in Dr. Danny Arnold's study, not enough to say that the institutional level of e-learning is really important, and we can get some proof that e-learning could be a good alternative of conventional learning, so we need better infrastructure and facilities. Thank you very much. The third presenter is Mr. Okta Ramayana, Lecturer of Polytechnic Media Creative Jakarta. Let's join in welcoming Mr. Okta Ramayana.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity for me to present in this really great forum. There's really a lot of great minds in one room. This is my first time, so I'm sorry if I'm a bit nervous. And I want to talk about like I'm using a very simple title here, it's giving students their own voice. Because in Asian culture, we are well known for hiding our feelings, our thoughts in our communication behavior. In the classroom, especially in Indonesia, like as we can see, like for the past few hours, like nobody raised hands to ask questions. It's quite a common cultural things that we Asians have. So therefore, it's hard for Indonesian educators to assess the students' ability in public communication. Yes, probably we're good at theoretical, but what about in public communications in practice? And I made an assignment to maximize the true potential of my students in the classroom using today's social media through audio recording. This is my first time, so I have to say something about myself. So I studied broadcasting and mass communication. I worked in the media for a few years, and I studied international communication management. That's where I learned about cultural study and communication. I'm broadcasting, and I have a passion in media, audio, education, social media, and startup. I and most of Indonesian students learn in the classroom today. We are really pretty much textbook based. Probably Professor Im already mentioned that we pretty much try to memorize things for our during our education instead of practicing and do a lot of creativity inside of our study. And mostly how teachers assess their students basically from tests by multiple scores, and even for essays we have to answer according to the textbook. So there's a little room for creativity in our study, and we portray a teacher as a guru where they have only 1% chance of a mistake. So there's always in the classroom that the teacher's always right. Look at the first rule, something like that. So that's how it works out in the classroom. And what about in creativity in arts, for example? Well, this is the kind of drawing that I used to draw when I was in primary school. And I think a lot of hundreds of Indonesian students are pretty well known to draw this kind of thing because it's safe to draw like this. You're not allowed to draw like manga, cartoon, or like comic from comic book because it's against creativity. So we have to draw something like very similar like this. And every time I draw like something like this, I get good marks. I don't know why, and that's how the system works as well. So there's a collective creativity. So we're not allowed to build something outside the box. Um, okay. But what about today? Does that still happen? Even though there's a technology like iPad and tablets, even kids still draw something like this. Using tablets, an iPad. Okay, so for the past years, teachers have been trying to find ways to create good ways to teach. And this is a word by Mark Levinson, quoted, that it says that today's educators have a chance to be courageous and take the risk to jumping off the high dive. And those who do so will give students opportunities to bring their passions into the classroom and encourage them to gain the cultural competencies and social skills they will need. But yeah, so that's what Michael said, that we as teachers should, make a good use of technology and try to tap into the students' behavior and how they use technology. And there's many studies that have been conducted in terms of flipped classroom and blended learning and everything. How in the classroom they use like smart technologies like tablet, smartphones, and Wi-Fi's and all these good things. But for example, like some teachers already use email or WhatsApp or Skype to connect to their students. Also, some even uses Facebook and Edmodo to contact their students. But out of the study, there are many studies focus more on the teacher sides and maximizing the use of social media. And furthermore, not many studies on those subjects focus on not many of the available research are applicable because of the different set of values that each country has in interpreting and adapting to the technology. Background, I teach radio broadcasting for first year and second year students in Polytechnic Negeri Media Kreatif, which is the creative polytechnic Jakarta, which is just outside Jakarta. And the school is started for the middle to low economic class. So they're not really from the high, they're not really farmers anyway, but they're mostly like who sells things and live outside the Jakarta area. And what I find is amazing that although they have a small to middle economy, they all use smartphones. And they're really used to using smartphones, they used to know how to use the social media. And as far as landscape for what the technology is in Indonesia, there's 250 million people in Indonesia, and there's 33% of internet penetration in the country. And what was amazing is there's 112 mobile subscription penetration. So that means like most Indonesian use 2 mobile phones. They have Android on their left pocket and then BlackBerry or iOS on the right pocket. So that's quite common. That's kind of cultural thing. I don't know why. Probably because it's a simple thing, you know, to make sure that you're successful. You have 2 mobile phones. I don't know why. Okay. And the thing that I see that although these kids use smartphones, I see that the potential are hidden under the peer pressure that is normally found in the classroom, that where students would stay in the safe zone for every assignment that they created in the classroom. They are classified to go beyond the capability because they would expect social judgments. That's why, for example, like we here, we don't want to raise hands because we don't want like social judgments. Okay, so are you trying to point out something? But I don't know. That's how it works in the cultural frame. And I would like to use this framework for the study that I'm conducting, which is a framework that was created by a Dutchman called Hofstede. It's the 6th cultural dimension. There's this power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. This is the example of Indonesian 6th cultural dimension that I would like to point out. But I would like to focus more on the 2 dimension. Although all these 6 are important in terms of assessing students' capability, but I focus more on the 2 dimension. Here's an example of power distance and individualism versus collectivism. I compare Indonesia to but it doesn't change anything in terms of our culture. So what means by power distance is power distance means expression the degree of which the less powerful members of society accept and expect that power is distributed unequally. So we Indonesians accept hierarchical order. For example, like manager will assign to staff, and staff are expected to be told what to do, something like that. Also, teachers also tries to tell the students what to write, what to do, and so it's quite common. And I think it's a bit similar to South Korea. I don't know. This is from the study. I don't know about how it works actually in Korea. And the other thing is about individualism. So in the individualism for the Indonesian, there's really low in individualism, which means that we are more into the collectivist society. I think it's also pretty much similar with the Korean. And the collectivism represents a preference for a tightly knit framework in society, which individuals can expect their relatives or members of a particular group to look after them in exchange for unquestioning loyalty. So in terms of the classroom, students struggle to be accepted in the society, to have place and where they need to belong. So this is the most challenging part, where the teachers need to excel their students' capability because they would expect social judgments. So it's very not common to raise hand and try to show up in front of the class, show and tell. It is very hard to do in the Asian culture. But what about in social media? That's a different case because in Indonesia, the #1 use of social networks is for connecting. They like to connect to each other, to chat as well, instant messaging. And then the second one is just looking for info. So this is the things that we do in social media. So this is the challenge that we as a teacher need to tap in to assess our students' ability to speak in public. And the other thing is about social media is we love anonymity, right? Like for example, that there's a question that we have, and most people will write questions in anonymously, okay, instead of putting their names, because it's safe. We like to do that. We like to ask questions without having to show our identity. But that's the thing about social media. In social media, we can have like a second persona. You don't have to be judged in a society. And also, students, Indonesian kids, the millennials, they love to show off. Like to point out their opinion. And like, for example, some of our students, they have Instagram and YouTube channel for just saying stuff that really random, like normally what millennials do. But that only happens outside, but not inside the classroom. Why is this happening? We can watch what can we do to bring that kind of creativity inside the classroom. So I started out with podcasts. Although that there's the technology of YouTube, but it's Indonesia, it's very hard to get a really good connection. Instead of podcast, it's really easy. You just, well, basically what podcast is, before I speak about how easy it is, it's a personal on-demand, which is like from iPod, podcast and broadcast. It's evolution from radio talk show and MP3, and it has early support from iPod. And it's easy to use. Oh, am I running out of time? So the tools for podcasting, you just need hardware like a computer, microphone, and a mixer. And you need software to edit your audio, and there's a lot of media hosting that you can use. And the good thing that today that you can have all of this in one device, which is your smartphone, which is in your pocket right now. And how I do this, how to create podcasts. Before I create the podcast, ask the children to do podcast, I would like to stimulate their critical thinking and public speaking skills through a series of presentation. So before a classroom, I will ask the student to, for example, next week we're going to talk about the history of radio. So before I say anything about the history of radio, I will ask them to do the research about history of radio, and then in groups do presentation. So that way we can ask the children to collect the data and be creative and create their own. That's how I always say, make it as your own show, make it like your own stage, present as creative as possible. That's the thing that I've been trying to ask them to do for a few weeks. And what I really want is to make sure that they're really comfortable with their presence in front of the class and their body language and the presence of their voice. This thing that Peter Nalfik mentioned in one of his TED presentation, which is they said that peers can be the best teachers because they're the ones that remember what it's like not to understand. So it's better than for me than talking in front of the class and the children gets tired and sleepy. Instead, they'll have their peers telling them things that they also learned before. And then after a series of presentation, I ask the student to present their own passion individually. They're presented individually, saying about anything about what they love to do and what is their passion, what they want to be after they graduated. It doesn't have to be broadcast related. It could be anything. But then I found that when they did the presentation, they can really get the hang of their body. They're really comfortable in front, speaking in front of the class because it's their thing. They know what they're saying about because it's their own passion. So that's what I see. Okay, I can use this as a good case for creating podcasts. So then, as a final exam, I asked the student to create a podcast. It's related to their passion. So they created a podcast channel based on their passion, which they have to interview people and make sure that they make a good use of their voice and they do their research about their own passion. And this is the result. They created a SoundCloud account and they uploaded their voice. And every time, sorry, I missed something. During the presentation times, I always ask the student to give feedbacks, but not like negative feedback, more of like supportive feedback. What do they like about the presentation? Why is it good? And stuff like that. It teaches them how to appreciate others. So that's the way how I do it. And also on the SoundCloud, they are asked to upload it and then market it. And I said, whoever likes, I will give them present. And that will teach them how to market themselves because they have to be proud of what they're doing. They have to take credit for their own creativity. So I asked them to share much more to the other kids, to their peers. What's amazing is after this the exam ended, I give the present, and then even one kid created their own podcast show without me asking them. So I think this guy really comfortable in his own voice and expressing himself. So this is one of the exam, but this is the other one that he made by himself. So he can create his own channel right now. He has his own channel. And the conclusion that I have here, sorry if I made it pretty long, that applying new technology in the classroom is important for educators to tap into students' existing behavior. But however, understanding the cultural value is more important. No matter how advanced the technology is, each technology can be used differently in every country. And by understanding the cultural values, and educators can create a strategy to enhance the classroom experience. And the strategy is also understanding the need to achieve learning objective by using certain type of technology. And the thing, but it takes time. It must be built after a series of trial and error. So I didn't get it. There's a series of trial and error. And the thing is, an open environment where discussion and appreciation is expected without having any judgment or humiliation can leverage the process. And open communication helps to level the power. So instead of I ask the children to ask questions, I ask them, sending email, okay, have any problem with the subject, or like you can just contact me anytime. That gives them more there's this power distance. I think by speaking in the same level, they are more reluctant to teachers. And the thing is, the last thing is keep it fun and entertaining. That is the most important thing to consider. Any activity should involve all types of students, and they must be able to enjoy and be entertained. Yeah, I think that's about it. Sorry, it's too long. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really inspiring presentation. As like Indonesia, Asian cultures, including Korean culture, do not encourage to show off individual talents. Mr. Okalamayana's presentation showed us that e-learning could overcome cultural constraints when we give ourselves consent about its cultural uniqueness. Thank you very much. And the fourth presenter is Mr. Roland Orenjo in Blue Band, Associate Professor of De La Salle University in the Philippines. Please welcome him.
Okay, good afternoon. I am, first of all, I just would like to thank ASEAN for this opportunity. And I am not Indonesian, but I am wearing batik to honor my wife. As an Indonesian, she's not with me, but she's with me now, in front of you. I'm happy I have with me a first timer also. I'm also a first timer, so I'm very nervous. I will read my presentation because I tend to talk too much if I'm nervous. So, okay, let me start. The flipped classroom in a challenge network environment. The future of education is now, and technology has something to do with it. It has introduced many new ways in teaching and in learning, and it has definitely changed our educational pedagogies. Our role as educators also changed along with it. But even with the aid of technology, it has not replaced learning as the main component in education. Thus, in a flipped classroom, technology is not the most important part, but the face-to-face time with the teacher and the students together. So what is a flipped classroom? It was mentioned already this morning, but I would like to say it again. A flipped classroom is one where students are introduced to content at home through digital tools, usually video, and then practice it at school under the guidance of a teacher. This is the reverse of the traditional pattern where students are introduced to content at school, then practice it at home without the guidance of the teacher. The researcher, that's me, this flipped classroom 2 years ago. Our university got an LMS called NEO LMS. And faculty members were encouraged to incorporate this technology in their classes. The early stages were difficult for him and maybe for his students as well, because he didn't have a technique on how to really use the new platform. He tried doing some innovations on his own, tried exploring the platform, and discovering how to make it really useful for his classes. He tried searching the web for best practices using technology, and he discovered flipped classroom and fell in love with it. So how did it all start? It started 5 years ago at a small group of high school science teachers, John Bergman and Aaron Sams. began collaborating on ways to use technology to improve face-to-face time with students. They were not thinking of technology when they started flipping their classes. It was because they want to reach out to the students and improve their class time that they found help in technology. It did not only fulfill their desire to reach out to the students, but also change the role of the teacher. The teacher is no longer the sage on the stage, but the guide or the facilitator of learning. So since then, the flipped classroom has been used not only in chemistry, but also to archaeology courses, literary studies, engineering, philosophy, courses in medicine, and in art. Bergman and Sons said there is no one right way to flip a classroom, as approaches and teaching styles are diverse as are needs of schools. Flipped classroom is something new in the Philippines, and it is not really that known. Some teachers are into flipped classroom, and they are among the innovative ones. One of the challenges that we face when implementing the flipped classroom is the accessibility of the online resources. In an online blog by EdTech Guru, it was mentioned among the 7 things that one has to do to start using the flipped classroom model is the accessibility of resources, which is the most crucial to its success. This must be one of the reasons why flipped classroom actually attracted many teachers and researchers in spite of its many benefits. A good number of studies on flipped classroom have been done outside the Philippines. However, in the Philippines, there is a dearth of studies on the use of flipped classroom, hence this study. So this paper focuses on the flipped classroom model employed in teaching art appreciation. So I teach art, I handle art classes. To examine how flipped classroom is practiced in art appreciation classes in the face of a challenged network environment. This paper seeks to answer the following questions. How is flipped classroom implemented in an art appreciation class? What are the towards a successful flipped classroom in a challenged network environment? So this paper will be a contribution to a body of literature on flipped classroom, especially in my country. Being an exploratory study, it would serve as a basis to subsequent studies in classroom. So my methodology is, this is an exploratory research on classroom, which utilized 2 separate surveys. The first one is a survey on the online learning capabilities of the students. On the other hand, the second survey is an evaluation of the flipped classroom experience. The participants are my students. 2 classes are composed of second year tourism and communication arts students, and 2 classes are composed of first-year graphics and multimedia students. The researcher, who is also the one who implemented the flipped classroom, followed the complete enumeration technique in determining the participants of the study. So at the start of the semester, the students are made to answer the first survey. And the focus of the survey is the capability of the students to undergo an online learning class. At the end of the semester, the students answer the second survey. It is composed of 20 questions about the goals of the course, the relevance of the activities, clarity and the organization of the lessons, and expectations, among others. All the surveys were administered online, and the students answered anonymously. They were also asked to comment on their flipped classroom experience. So here are the results. The result of the first survey is, in table 1, it shows that it can be seen that most, it's 47% are self-motivated. They find studying alone a positive challenge. And 54% said that they generally meet deadlines. 45% said that I like it when instructors go over homework directions verbally. And 39.71% said, I need to be reminded of deadlines. This is table 2. It shows in accessing the internet and use of computers, table 2 shows a very favorable response from the students. 92.74% browse the internet frequently. And then for the course, they can log in at least twice a week. That's 73.56%. 80.75% find working with computers testing. 64.79 will use a lab on campus or a friend's computer if their own computer bogs down. And 51.65% look forward to the experience of online learning. Are the students capable for a flipped classroom? The survey showed that the attitude of the students coupled with their interest in technology offers well for a flipped classroom innovation. At the end of the semester, the students were asked to answer the second survey. 70% of the students still plan to take another e-learning course after the experience, which is a good sign for flipped classroom. Tables 3 and 4 would show that majority of the students agree that the goals were clearly stated, the learning activities were relevant, the presentation of the topics was clear, etc. So that's table 4. Overall, the result of the survey was promising and very encouraging. However, flipped classroom in the Philippines faces a stiff challenge, the internet connection. What I'm showing you is the 2014 result of the ASEAN Internet Speed Index. In 2011, the Philippines ranks 139 out of 185 countries. Even the small nation of Rwanda has an average broadband speed of 10.1 Mbps, 6 times more than the Philippines' 1.5 Mbps. That's 2011. 3 years after the Philippines, where is the Philippines? We have improved from 1.5 to 3.6, at least. But we're still at the bottom. Okay. In 2015, is it good? Yes, we have improved from 3.6 to, where is it? Oh, sorry, it's 2.5 now. So the Philippines has the second slowest internet in Asia, next only to Afghanistan. Yes. So have we improved from the past 4 years? Yeah, if we are the only one country in the world, yes. But if we compare with other countries, no. So as you can see, 4 years have passed and still no improvement with the internet connection and speed in the Philippines. Because of this, flipped classroom has not really picked up in the Philippines. So what to do? So faced with this challenge, the researcher designed the online classes in such a way that even if the internet is slow, the students can still find the time to accomplish the online aspect of the class. First, what I did was the lesson materials and the assessment that follows, the quizzes, were made available for a week. So they have 7 days to do it. So they read the lessons online, and then if they can do it, if they can answer the quizzes on Monday, they can do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until Saturday. And then we don't have synchronous sessions. I think that's impossible because of the speed. We have asynchronous sessions, and then the assessments have multiple attempts, from 3 to unlimited attempts. So I give them unlimited attempts. So if first attempt, no internet connection lost, second attempt, electricity lost, third attempt, the dog died, fourth attempt, unlimited attempts. So no more reasons. Okay, and then no time limit. So no pressure. So even if the electricity went out, they can still go back and retake the quiz. So those are the simple strategies. And also a lot of patience. For those who don't have internet access at home, the university, we have the computer lab for that. That is available for the students. And our LMS, the Neo LMS, which we call the school book, also has a mobile app. So the students can access our lessons and the quizzes with their smartphones and tablets. So the study showed that flipped classroom as a new technology of pedagogy can still work despite the challenge of the internet connections. The researchers' flipped classroom did not only facilitate the teaching and the learning process, it also inculcated in the students some values like discipline, responsibility, and time management. Because even if they are given multiple attempts and no time limit, they still have to meet the deadline. The teachers should bear in mind that technology is just a tool to the whole teaching and learning process. Our role as teachers, the role of teachers as guides is very important in order for the flipped classroom to work. By and large, flipped classroom model in a challenged network environment is still possible given the situation. This has been proved by this simple study. This model bears no limits and there are many ways to make it work. Challenges should not bar a resourceful teacher from doing what he believes to be of help in the learning process of the students. The researcher would like to share this student's comment that fanned the flame in the heart of a flipper. The student said, I have learned a lot in this subject because we are really the one who makes our trade. I have learned to paint, to mold an animal in clay, and make an animal in soap, and I found it very interesting because I used my brain in some of my strategy of how I could make things perfectly. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your inspiring presentation. I think this may be the key sentence of this presentation. Challenges should not bar a resourceful teacher from doing what he believes to be of help in the learning process of the students. Thank you very much. And the fifth presenter is Dr. Preecha, Kocharoen, Associate Professor of Sripatum University in Thailand. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Today, I have to introduce myself first. My name is Preecha from Sripatum University, Thailand. I and my colleague, Professor Keerati, Chayakulkheeree, will going to share the techniques we have implemented in our class we call flipped classroom. We are from electrical engineering. Myself is teaching telecommunication and my colleague teaching the electrical engineering power system. I use flipped classroom to my lecturers. We try to use the flipped classroom in gradually adopt. Let me explain this later. The gradually adopt. Why we need flipped classroom? One big problem of the way of teaching is the age gap between our site lecturer and our student. 40 something and for my student 20 years old. We have a big gap of 20 years. The big gap has problem because at our age, when we're learning, we don't have internet, we don't have smartphone. So when we learn in that way. But in this age, students, they use smartphone, they play games, they play social network in our classroom. So we have to change the way, change ourselves to make students can get more learning. Here, there are different around here, and some of teachers maybe in this age. Different age gap. So it's big problem here. They think different from us, students at this age. But now, luckily, we have something like this, technology. Technology may be expensive for some people, but luckily, we have the access to like Facebook, things. So we can use that thing for free, then for learning for students. Before free classroom, we try something else. I will explain. And one difficult thing for I and my colleague is our subject is have to control by Council of Engineer because this is the core subject for engineer. It's quite difficult. Many calculating things, many equations, many things we have to solve in the real case. Before using flipped classroom, we try at least 2 or 3 techniques. For example, we try project-based learning. We use the project in the subject. We get one problem for students, like try to make a robot that can track the land. Just that problem. Build the thing, learn how to assembly the robot, how to use the sensor things. They have to learn how to assembly all together. So they use their spare time, the free time outside the class to learn. This trick is very good. Still have to solve the problem, solve the project, and try to challenge like this. Robot have to run all around this and try to win. We know that students want to win the game, so we build the game for them, put them in the track, and try to finish this. It's okay in that time, but for the whole system of learning, students not just learn only our subject. They have to learn several subjects, like 6 or 7. If they use their spare time for our subject only, they might lose another subject. So the project-based learning is good for our subject, but worse for the other. So it's not quite good. So we try something else. We try to use e-learning. We try to motivate them using e-learning and things. This several years ago, we tried to use this thing, try to motivate, try to use e-learning. Oh, sorry, too fast. Motivate the things and try to use the real activity to motivate the student. It's good for them. They can learn better. But what I said, students can learn better in our subject, but they use a lot of time from their spare time. So the overall course, students can learn less. We think about time is the important point. How can we use time in the class more important. So last year, 2 semesters before, we tried to implement this flipped classroom techniques. Flipped classroom techniques can help students learn with different ability and learn at their own speed. And we can help students who struggle can improve their learn ability. How can we use the flipped classroom for engineering course? We use the lecture, but we capture it in the form of video screencast. We do all the lecture for 15 weeks of time. We capture all and put it in the record screencast video, and we explain this later. And this video, we assign students to learn from outside class. Inside the class, we use the time for guiding students through the deeper understanding, like some specific problem. Students need to know that problem. We use more time in that. We not just use our time for lecturing, not just that. And if students struggling, we can know because we can talk, we can go to the student to answer them specifically. This is our flipped classroom model. First, we have to prepare the e-learning quite well. Thank you for Dr. Warren to prepare this system for us as students. We have the module in the form of the e-learning system. We prepare the whole courses 15 weeks, 15 to 16 weeks. We put everything in the e-learning system. I will show quite big here. We put everything like a guideline. This week, what is this subject? Sorry for Thai. How can you get the point? We put everything in the system. Every week, before 1 week, we put screencast video, totally 6 screencast video for this course. This the 5th. We put all week here in the e-learning. So it is a guideline for students. So they will know this week what they have to learn, they have to study before the class, learn from the YouTube and things. One screencast video about 5 to 10 minutes long. We have to cut it in a short scene. This is a whole e-learning system that we have to prepare before course start. In the e-learning system, we have to put, it's a good thing, online quiz, use these techniques, use online quiz. We already prepare online quiz and put it in the schedule. Every week, we assign. Students have to do. This example for online quiz. They can see the answer after finish attempt. Correct? Not correct, like that. Outside the class, we put the screen the YouTube too. Before, in the Moodle, familiar with that format. Students familiar with YouTube, so we put in the YouTube too, so they can use their mobile phone for watching the YouTube video. This example of the screen here. 66. Go fast here. Only the screen video my subject teaching engineering course for telecommunication. we can do experimental. So I use the camera to capture the video of experimental, try to measure the thing, how the web standing along the transmission line like that. Do that, capture it, and put it in. You say about the signal processing, about time domain and frequency domain. And this how to modulation the things, we capture it. And students learn from the experimental. Not only e-learning and YouTube, we use Facebook. This is the most all my Facebook. So in the class, students always use their smartphone, actually playing game or chatting or playing Facebook. I want to get attention from them. How? So I use Facebook in our class. I use Facebook my the page in 371. We can put the games use this Facebook application. We have to know the student. Student want to play the game, want to win the game, want something challenge them. So try to make the learning space like a challenge space for them. Just try to solve and capture. How we can use the flipped classroom into the traditional lecture class. If we use it suddenly 100% flip, some students might against. So it's not good. This semester, I divide the class. I have two classes. One I use. First, I have to check the good for using all this content or not. By check all of them have smartphone available or not. To try, I call group B one and willing to try. So I put more flipped classroom here. What difference between the lecture based and flipped classroom based? For lecture based, in the classroom time, I am the only one who can speak, who can tell, who can lead the class. And at home, students have to solve the problem, have to do the homework. If they stuck, no one can help. They have to help each other. This is the lecture-based, traditional one. But for the flipped classroom model, we have at home, students have to read, play, and can learn from the content that we already well prepared. I have to say that we have to well prepare. That I show you. I have to prepare the 15 lecture in the e-learning system. Prepare the way of using Facebook. Prepare the material of the video and screencast. Everything. Prepare when they have to do the quips like that. When they have to submit the report things. We have to well prepare. When students know the structure of each week, they have to learn. They can learn before getting into the class. Just watching video. But students may not watching video in class. How can we solve this problem? We have problem before. When students come to the class, the very first thing we have to do is let them answer the question. If students cannot answer the question, ask the question to me and ask the question to the class. If they cannot answer the question, it means they're not learning. So, first time, okay. The second time, not okay. We have to go and talk to them. Why? It's better to learn first so you can catch up the class. Now, divide students into a group 5 or 6, more than that, so we can reach the student easier. Students can sit down anywhere in class. We can work and check it. Might learn fast, so we can give them more precise questions that more difficult. But some group might not learn quick enough, so we can help like that. In the class, if 100% flip, no lecture, no more lecture, just playing game. To let students ask the question, to let, I don't know, they watch the YouTube before coming to class or not. The group A, I use 25 to 50%. I still have to lecture, but lecture in the short time, maybe just 30 or 40 minutes time after the class. I use 10% more lecture in this group. I implement this text into, and what happened, we see that the teacher show the activity in the class. Students not just sit down, they look around because the class not well formatted in the form of group, so they have to stand up like this, try to calculate, try to finish the thing, and use the smartphone to capture the answer and post on the Facebook like that. In the class, I use Facebook to show the question. Try to help each other. In the class, quite noisy. Students always talk, chat. This is the group B, another group. This group A. This group B, another section. Some question I want students can answer by themselves correctly. I have to assign them to show up by let they explain that question by themselves. For specific question, we have to use these techniques. And when I use flipped classroom, I have plenty of time. I can bring instruments to show students what happens if we put this signal to this thing, what come out. I can use this instrument to show up here we have plenty of time in the class, and we can use the microcontroller thing to pull up that internet, because students want to build the thing, to make the thing can work, like to make the LED light flashing. We can use these things and make students active or very active in the class. Sometimes I use my smartphone like this. I show like this. My smartphone flash and transmit some signal. We call Morse code. It flash in the Morse code. Students use their smartphone to decode the Morse code in telecommunication field of study. They try to decode the Morse code that I transmit to the flash. Bap, 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 bap. Who can decode it first can get more marks like that, just for fun. After this, we learn about how to encode signal, just to make them interested. The result, Group 1 has 41 students to 36 students. Group 2, the result is for co-pairs, average of the Group 1 can make 5.8 marks from 10. The average 8.1. It means the split classroom can make students learn better. For short summary. Thank you.
Very much. In this case, that we see the higher the percentage of academic learning should more percentage should we adopt. And one more presentation is left. The final presentation will be given by Dr. Keerati. Please welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
That is so it takes.
Athletic City. Okay, for today, I will make a presentation on the integrated and social media for feedback classroom approach in entering class. The thing I present our class to Dr. Preecha, I will present my case study. For learning, we use Moodle. Try to integrate it with Facebook and social media, because Thai students are difficult. To us. When we try to integrate that, many people call it a blended learning methodology. And to do this, our classroom has to be flipped, and and do a live quiz. Very hard work for us to provide make an student when I asked them to design it, they say to because I also try to make a rather than lecturing. Make a student to do knowledge sharing and answer. Then here is the integrated approach. Here we have Sripatum learning one over here. Some people feel Facebook, especially for students, they access mostly on the Facebook rather than to be face to face. A class sharing, lecture or thing. I also sometimes use ping pong game. Free experience. Unlimited attempt. But some student put the video content by uploading the file, and I can also limit it. We can get a real-time communication with our students, and difficult for them to escape. It's not in the class. We can make information activity announcements in our Facebook violation, and them to watch the video. When they add of the device, any device, they get into the Facebook, they will see my face, remind them that to watch the video, to do assignment, or to make a quiz. Sometimes I use Facebook in the class also. That those students who are, when I open my Facebook, those students who are online, I can see them, and they have to ask me the answer, the comment. The class is used for just directing and checking the understanding, enhancing the understanding, and make a knowledge sharing in between the student, group problem solving, or class knowledge sharing, or using ping-pong game. Yeah. This is my course, system protection. And the course nature, the content is in engineering, electrical engineering. And the objective of the course is about technical design, and they have to do the computation skill. And this is the nature of my class, and it's very, very difficult to explain to the students some content. Once I try to apply this teaching method and show what is the outcome of my students, how they feel about my so I use the questionnaire, pre-test, and post-test. For the pre-test and post-test score, I found this is the topics on the topic in my course, the Stanley Lane and pilot relays with the protection equipment, and I found that the student can gain their knowledge. They can make a higher score after they learn the content. And for the questionnaire, most of them are satisfied on using this teaching method. And I use this via Google form. They can feel free to answer. Okay. I and social media, and the advantage of either is learning and the student among the students, and the situation are very good, and it classroom, and the method also is two of us in the engineering school is, I think only both of us do this. And, let me try to share our knowledge to our friends. Some we have to change the opinion. In this case, we have to change the opinion. It's also for me. It's very difficult to not lecture, to not make lecture. We have to we have to explain to them in many ways, and they can try first. They can invite them for try to do it for just some not the whole course, like 25% or 50%. It's also good for students also. Students also not familiar. Some students not familiar for this kind of learning.
We can start from just only few parts that we can. For example, if someone just can prepare PowerPoint presentation in the structure of things, just try that first. After that, we can add more video screencast and things later. Just that, try the small part first. Just do that, step by step.
Thank you very much. And maybe we need some incentives to encourage them. Okay, thank you. And the next question is, what is the most crucial difficulty to implement e-learning in your country? Is there anyone? What is the most crucial difficulty to implement e-learning in your country? Would you please?
Well, in my case for Indonesia, I would say related to the previous question, that is how to motivate lecturers to implement e-learning. Because my university has been established for more than 60 years, if I'm not mistaken. So most of the lecturers are, so to say, very senior. Don't want to say very old, just very senior. So they anticipate teaching in the classroom. They don't really want to change the e-learning. So I think that the most difficult one will be to change their way of, to ask lecturers to change their way of learning, or sorry, their way of teaching.
It is basically the same situation in Korea as well. So, is there anyone to answer?
I would like to second the motion. Yes, because you also have the same problem we have when we introduce technology. The problem is always how to convince people to embrace technology because they are used to the old system, and so the crucial difficulty is how to change their attitude towards it. It's another tool. It's like before we have Blackboard, now we improve to the projector and then the laptop. So now we have e-learning. So they don't have to be afraid with it. So the suggestion was very good. You start small. I also used that. I started small, and then once you get used to it, it becomes easy. So change the attitude first, because that's very difficult. Thank you.
And is there any question from the floor? Thank you for your presentation. I have some questions that I will discuss. One question about the gaps of students. Well, if you have perspectives of the e-learning can be functioning as an aspect of development of education in your countries, then how you can actually overcome the gaps between students. For instance, you have the division of 25 applications, certified as 100% of learning in your classes, and how you can actually divide or use such method for students. If someone actually avoiding the feeling of isolation or laptop, how do you overcome such? I can read both abilities.
actually overcome to apply such flipped learning in your classes, avoiding students, any students feeling isolated from learning. For instance, someone maybe not having willingness of such methodology of learning, and how actually you can put in one classroom and actually help them to apply such methodology for students. For instance, if someone who involved in one classroom that you applied for 75% of flipped learning methodology, I'm sure there's some students don't want, or maybe from less privileged background of their families and don't have laptops or mobile, for instance. How you can actually help them avoiding feeling isolated in such methodology of your learning?
Thank you. I got your point. Before I apply this thing, this technique is not just the first time. Last year, I applied this technique. 99% of my students on smartphone, and for this semester, 100% of the class have smartphone and always on network. Luckily for my class, they use their own smartphone. This thing I have to share. We use this technique we call bring your own device. So our university don't have to prepare for them. Get familiar with the device. Like some of my students use iOS, some of them use Android. They're familiar with the screen and things. We just let them use their own device. Luckily for my case, all my students have smartphones and always on the network. They always use this thing. They all have the smartphone. So I can implement this. And the technique to implement 25% or 25% just for a couple of weeks in the semester. I can learn from asking them and get the feedback from them. One session, not really much. The average age of that student about 19 or 20. But the group B is students who learn and work at the same time. We call students who learn in the weekend. The average age about 26 or something. They get more responsibility. So I can put more flex in this section. They try to put more in the group A, but they again, how can I know they are not watching the video? More than half they're not watching, so I know they are against this technique, so I have to give lectures.
Thank you. Because it just kind of sounds like a very romantic. Is there anyone to add?
I would like to add. I mentioned that in a flipped classroom, technology is not the most important part, but the face-to-face time. So in my class, like art, I teach drawing and painting. I tell the students that if we use the flipped classroom, then I will have more time to guide you in your drawing. So in the class time is spent in letting the students draw, and then I go around and I guide the students who believe that they don't have any talent, very humble. So I approach them and then I tell them this is the way how you do it. And while the others who are more into drawing, so I can just teach them. So I tell them, don't be afraid of flipped classroom. It will be more beneficial for you because I will have more time for you. That's how I encourage them.
Maybe there are more questions in your mind, but
the questions that you might have will be solved in the next session, and we are running out of time, so it's better here. So please, a round of applause again to all the presenters.